I'm Roberta, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make one of my favourite quick and easy Indian side dishes. In fact, for me it can even be a main course just with rice and yogurt. And it combines two of my favourite things, well three of my favourite things actually. Eggplant, especially these gorgeous little Jap eggplants. Cumin seeds, lots of them as you can see, which is my favourite spice. And salt, something else I can't live without. Well, technically none of us can live without salt, but I love it. Okay, so we're slicing the eggplant. I like a little bit of a diagonal slice, it really doesn't matter. And you don't want them too thick, about 1 centimetre. And we're going to salt them. Not to drain out the bitterness, which is what we used to do in the old days with eggplant, but just for flavour and also to start to soften them. So we're going to pop them onto a plate. When they're all sliced, we're going to cover them with salt. Now, salt is so important in any cuisine, of course, but it's also very, very important in Indian culture. The Indian belief is that any meal for a living soul must contain salt, because salt is the essence of life. And salt is so important that often when they eat a thali in India, you know the big metal plate with the little dishes around it, they start with a mound of salt in the middle, and when they finish the meal, if there's any salt left, they can't throw it out, so they add water to dissolve it, because salt should never be thrown away, like life. It shouldn't be thrown away, it can only be dissolved. So we spread our eggplant out, and again, we're not going to measure it, but we want about 2 teaspoons of salt. Salt is not only life, it's flavour. And if we're using good salt, we shouldn't be afraid of it. So beautiful natural salt flakes from our friends at Olsen, from Alex and her family. And there we go. Now that's going to draw out some of the moisture, season it, and we'll come back and look at that in a few minutes. So our eggplant's been sitting for 5 or 10 minutes. You don't really want it to sit any longer than that. Into the saucepan, you can see it started to give off some moisture. It's glistening there, that's fine. Into the saucepan, and in with our cumin seeds, and in with some oil. Now you want quite a small pan for this, because you need a fair bit of oil. You need to bring the oil about 1/3 of a way up the side of the eggplant. So you're shallow frying basically. So how much oil you use is going to depend on the size of your pan. Alright, onto the stove with this now. So we start on a medium to high heat. We want to get a bit of frying happening. We certainly want those cumin seeds to fry. And we want to give it a good stir because we want all of the eggplant and cumin to come into contact with the oil. And once it's well stirred through, we're going to cover it, put it on the lowest heat possible and set it aside. Let it cook on the lowest heat possible for about 5 minutes. Then we'll check it and see how it's doing. So I think that's all well stirred through. Cover, reduce heat and walk away for 5 minutes. So that's started to break down nicely, and now all we need to do is give it a bit of colour. It's nice and tender. Oh, that cumin, I love the smell of cumin. So now we're going to turn the heat up high and just let it fry for another couple of minutes until some of the eggplant, it's not going to be uniform, but some of it's taken on a bit of colour. So there we go. Yes, it started to stick a little bit, which is what we want, because that's where it's getting that colour. You don't want to mash it, so I'm not going to stir it anymore. Just going to take it off the heat and let it sit until we're ready to eat it. So here's our brinjal. I popped it back on the heat to fry it up again. If you were eating it just on its own, you'd just eat it after you cooked it, but we had it sitting for a while. Now, it's up to you how much of that oil you want to use. It is delicious, it's infused with the cumin, but you can easily drain most of it off. But you do want to get any of those bits that are stuck to the bottom, because that's the really yummy caramelised cumin seeds that have almost gone nutty, and that delicious eggplant. So there we go. There's our Brinjal Jeera, beautiful on its own with rice and yogurt. We're going to eat it with our malai kofta and dhal palak.